You signed the papers on a Tuesday, $48,000 give or take, for the SUV your family was going to grow into. 3 rows, a big glowing screen, that new car smell that costs about 9 cents to spray in, and somehow closes the deal every single time. And for a while it was fine. Then one cold morning, you back out of your own driveway, shift from reverse into drive, and the thing bangs into first gear and just sits there revving, going nowhere, like it forgot how to be a car. Here's the part nobody tells you when you're standing in that showroom. Most of the failures I'm about to walk you through were not accidents. They weren't bad luck. They were decisions. Somebody in a room chasing a number signed off on a design that saves a few cents a unit or a few tenths of a mile per gallon. And you're the one who found out in a parking lot what it actually cost. I've had a lot of these up on the lift. I'm not going to give you a resume because you can smell a resume, but I'll tell you this much. I can name the SUVs quietly wrecking people's savings right now without looking anything up, because I've watched the same failures roll through the same door in a loop year after year until you start to see the pattern sitting behind them. So that's what we're doing today. The 15 SUVs Americans regret most in 2026, ranked from merely bad up to genuinely catastrophic. The exact part that fails, what it costs to put right, and whether it's the vehicle that's the problem or just the way they've decided to build them now. Stay for number 15 especially. It's sitting under one of the biggest engine recalls in the country as I'm talking to you, and the failure it's recalled for can end with the engine on fire. But we build up to that one. Let me show you what's really going on. Here's the thread that ties this whole list together, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Nearly every regret on here traces back to the same thing: complexity added to chase a number, a fuel economy number for the window sticker, a tax credit for a hybrid, a margin for the quarter, a feature for the brochure, and in almost every case, the older, simpler version of the very same vehicle was more reliable than the clever new one that replaced it. Keep that in your back pocket. We're going to watch it happen 15 times. Number 1, the Chevrolet Blazer EV. This is the electric SUV that General Motors had to stop selling just weeks after it went on sale because the software was such a mess. They paused it, patched it, cut the price, and put it back out. And Consumer Reports still just named it the least reliable electric SUV you can buy, with owners reporting the battery system, the climate controls, and the in-car electronics all acting up. One owner described a battery sensor throwing a fault and shutting the entire battery system down on Thanksgiving. Others couldn't reliably fast charge on a road trip, which on an electric car is the one job it truly cannot fail at. It drives nicely, I'll give it that, and the newer builds are better, but you paid early adopter money for beta software. And electric SUVs shed close to 60% of their value in 5 years. That's not a car problem, that's a wallet problem. Number 2, the Volkswagen Taos. Consumer Reports has parked this little thing at the bottom of the subcompact class 2 years running now. The turbocharged 4-cylinder has a fuel pump that can quit and stall the engine, and that got it recalled. The all-wheel drive version had software that could stall it as you came to a stop, which is a genuinely dangerous way to find out about a bug. In the middle of an intersection, there's a recall for the whole instrument panel going blank. So, no speedometer, no gauges, nothing. And owners are chewing through brake pads at 20 to 30,000 miles, which is not normal for something this light. It's roomy, it's efficient, and it feels a class cheaper than the number on the glass. Death by 1,000 little cuts, except stalling in traffic isn't a little cut. If you're looking at a used one, make sure those recalls were actually completed before you sign. Number 3, the GMC Acadia. This is Consumer Reports' least reliable 3-row SUV. For 2024, they redesigned it, dropped the old V6, and dropped in a smaller turbocharged engine and a new 8-speed automatic, and that transmission leaks. Torque converter, housing, pump seal, axle seal, take your pick. And these aren't wipe it and drive leaks. These are pull the transmission out of the truck leaks, which is a 4-figure job, even when the warranty's paying, and a brutal one when the goodwill runs out. Add flaky brakes and glitchy electronics on top. A smaller turbo has to work harder to haul 3 rows of people around, and working harder is how parts wear out. They traded a proven 6-cylinder for a fuel number. The number showed up. The durability didn't. Number 4, the Ford Explorer. This is America's best-selling SUV of all time, and the current redesign had one of the roughest launches in the entire industry. 30-plus recalls in the first year alone. Here's what happened. They flipped the platform from front-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, which put brand new loads through the back axle and a bolt back there can snap and drop the drive shaft, which means the thing can roll away while it's parked or lose power while you're driving it. More than 230,000 recalled, fixed, then recalled again for the same failure. And even then, the federal regulators questioned whether the fix was good enough. The tell, if it's happening to you, is a loud grinding or clunking from the rear. The backup camera got recalled 6 separate times, with some owners having the camera replaced 3 times and still watching it go black. And the sporty V6 version got its own recall for intake valves that can crack and take the whole engine down. I'll be straight with you, the base 4-cylinder is solid, and the newest model years are much improved, but the ones already on the road earned their spot here. Check the axle bolt recall by VIN before you buy one. Number 5, the Audi Q7. Beautiful, quick, and a slow, steady leak on your bank account. The direct injection V6 cakes carbon onto the back of its intake valves, because with this kind of injection, the fuel gets sprayed straight into the cylinder and never washes the valves clean the way it used to. So the gunk builds and you get a rough, idle, misfires, and lost power until you're paying a shop several $100s to physically blast the valves clean with crushed walnut shells. It sips oil on top of that. And the very options that make it feel special, the air suspension and the 4-wheel steering, are exactly the parts that cost a fortune when they age out and the air struts start letting the corner sag overnight. Then comes depreciation. This thing loses about 61% of its value in 5 years. Roughly twice as fast as a Toyota 4Runner. You're paying luxury money to own a set of problems you can't even touch without the dealer's laptop. Number 6, the Chevrolet Equinox and its twin, the GMC Terrain. This is the driveway scene from the top of the video. For 2025, they redesigned both and split the transmissions. A continuously variable unit in the front drive versions, a new 8-speed in the all-wheel drive ones, and both have been leaking and failing right out of the box. Owners are reporting bad seals and loose assembly bolts from the factory. One had 2 transmissions fail, the second one after 500 miles. There's a service bulletin about them getting stuck in first gear when it's cold outside, revving high and jerking because a cold clutch pack gets misread on the shift out of reverse. Consumer Reports pulled its recommendation. People are settling lemon law buybacks for thousands of dollars just to be rid of them. The old 6-speed Equinox was dull as dishwater and dependable as a hammer. They traded dependable for a fuel number and a fresh brochure, and they're finding out the hard way that a first-year transmission is a gamble you take with your own money. Number 7, the Genesis GV80. This is the value luxury darling that Consumer Reports just added to its least reliable list, which caught a lot of people off guard because the brand's whole reputation is bang for the buck. Owners are reporting fuel pump trouble, fuel injection faults, a rear differential that misbehaves, and a scattering of electrical gremlins. It is a genuinely lovely thing to sit in. But a fuel pump that quits and leaves you on the shoulder is the kind of failure that doesn't care how nice the leather is. Lovely to sit in and won't leave you stranded are 2 different promises, and this one's been breaking the second promise often enough to land right next to cars that cost far more. Number 8, the Tesla Model X. Those upswinging falcon wing doors are the entire sales pitch, and they're also the entire problem. Heavy, stuffed full of sensors and hinges, living right where rain and road grit collect, and they false alarm on obstacles that aren't there. They leak and they cost real money out of warranty just to recalibrate. The door actuators die, and when they do, you can't open the door from outside at all. It's a heavy vehicle on big wheels, so the suspension and the control arm bushings wear early and clunk over bumps. The screen freezes, the curved windshield can crack from a stray pebble, and by design, it doubles up headlights and street lights at night, and it drops about 2/3 of its value in 5 years, so a $95,000 spaceship is worth around $30,000 later. The battery and motors are genuinely tough, and the newest ones are far better sorted. But if you're shopping a used one, cycle every door a dozen times and listen hard over rough pavement before you hand anybody a check. Number 9, the BMW X5 with the twin-turbo V8, the one they call the N63. It is a masterpiece that slowly eats itself. It's a hot V design, which means the turbochargers sit down inside the V of the engine, so it cooks everything around it. The valve stem seals harden in that heat, and it starts drinking oil. The plastic timing chain guides get brittle, and if that chain stretches and jumps, the valves smash into the pistons and the engine is finished. The early warning is a rattle on a cold start that doesn't quite go away, and metal flakes turning up in the oil. Doing that chain often means pulling the whole engine out. $4,000 to $8,000 in labor before parts, and the valve seal job means the head comes off another $3,000 to $5,000. The high pressure fuel pump and the injectors like to fail on it as well. Another $1,000 to $2,000 visit that tends to land right around 100,000 miles just as the warranty waves goodbye. BMW never issued a safety recall for it. They quietly ran a customer care package instead. Here's the honest part. The 6-cylinder X5 is a genuinely good vehicle. It's this V8 that's the money pit. Same engine, by the way, that BMW turns around and sells to Land Rover, which brings us one rung up the ladder. Number 10, the Maserati Levante. It sounds like a symphony, and it depreciates like a phone you dropped in a lake. It loses around 63% of its value in 5 years. Call it $65,000 gone. The ones that stickered at 6 figures, new sight on used lots in the low 40s. That gorgeous engine was built by Ferrari, and it is glorious, and it is expensive to keep fed. Under the Italian skin, though, it's full of parts bin switchgear it shares with much cheaper corporate cousins. The maintenance is eye-watering, and the dealer network is so thin that a repair can mean weeks of waiting for the one specialist in your half of the state. Buy one used for what it's actually worth, and you might have yourself a good time. Buy one new, and you are personally funding the fastest wealth destruction machine on this entire list. Number 11, the Range Rover, the one everybody warns you about, and I'm here to tell you the warnings are right. Every Range Rover rides on air suspension, and every Range Rover owner eventually comes face to face with that fact. The rubber air springs dry rot and crack. The compressor overworks trying to keep up, and when the little drying filter in that system fails, the moisture it lets through can take out other parts with it. The dash lights up with normal height only, and the repair sails right past $4,000. The timing chain can go, and just the cylinder head portion of that job averages north of 11,000. It's so electrically sensitive that a tired battery throws a whole cascade of warning lights. And even the battery has to be a specific factory unit installed with a specific procedure, about $1,000. An oil change at the dealer is $500, and it sheds around 64% of its value in 5 years. The newest ones are genuinely tighter and better built, I'll say that plainly, but a reputation like this one does not come from nowhere. Number 12, the Ford Escape. This is where the list turns from expensive to catastrophic. The EcoBoost Escapes, the 1.5 and the 2.0 across a big chunk of the 2013 to 2019 run, use what's called an open deck block with a coolant passage machined right between the cylinders to save weight. Under boost, combustion pressure shoves coolant past the head gasket and straight into the cylinder. You get misfires, white smoke on a cold start as the pooled coolant burns off. Coolant that keeps disappearing with no puddle under the car, and eventually a cracked block or so much coolant in a cylinder that the engine hydrolocks and bends a rod. The only real fix is a new short block or long block, $6,000 to $10,000 on a vehicle now worth less than the repair. Some of them caught fire. There's a class action lawsuit, and owners will tell you Ford's answer was a Band-Aid, a low coolant sensor to warn you it was already happening. If you're eyeing a used one, ask why they've been topping off coolant with no visible leak. The newer 3-cylinder ones, for what it's worth, got their own recall for fuel injectors that crack and leak gasoline onto a hot engine. They shaved sealing area off the block to make it lighter and cheaper, and it cost owners the entire engine. Number 13, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, specifically the plug-in hybrid 4IC. This one is practically a rolling stack of recall letters. It's been recalled because a software glitch can drop all drive power while you're moving down the road, about 92,000 of them, when a control module overloads and resets and the hybrid system misreads it. It's been recalled because the high voltage battery can catch fire parked or driving over 150,000 across the Jeep hybrids, with Jeep telling owners to park outside away from the house and stop charging until it's repaired. Then a fresh one on top, casting sand left inside the engine from the factory that can wreck it and start an underhood fire, with the permanent fix still being finalized as I record this. On the transmission side, owners report hard shifts and stored fault codes on the 8-speed too, and separately, coil springs on the regular Grand Cherokees shipped installed wrong and could launch right out. One owner's flew clean across his garage. Jeep quietly killed the 4X after 2025. A well-sorted Grand Cherokee is a handsome, capable machine. It's the hybrid complexity that's been burning people, sometimes literally. Number 14, the Jeep Wrangler 4X. Same battery fire recall, same casting sand in the engine recall as its cousin. But the Wrangler carries an extra, older curse that the owners themselves gave a name: the death wobble. Hit a bump at highway speed with worn steering or track bar parts, and that solid front axle can start resonating, shaking the steering back and forth so violently you're convinced the front end is coming off the truck. It's a known trait of that live axle setup, and Jeep's answer over the years has mostly been a beefier steering damper rather than an actual cure. Keep the front end components tight and inspected and you can hold it off. But you shouldn't have to babysit a brand new vehicle to keep the steering from thrashing. Stack the fire recalls on top of that, and you've got an icon that's genuinely hard to hand someone with a straight face right now. Nothing on earth does what a Wrangler does off-road. On the road in 2026, it's asking a lot of you. And number 15, the one at the very top of the heap, the Nissan Rogue. It's one of the best-selling SUVs in the entire country, which is exactly why this one hurts the most. In 2021, Nissan took out the plain, tough 2.5-liter engine and dropped in a clever little 1.5-liter three-cylinder with variable compression, an engine that uses an extra set of linkages to physically change its own compression ratio on the fly, chasing efficiency and power at the same time. Brilliant on paper. In the real world, all that added complexity brought a weakness that can kill it. The engine bearings can break down, and when a bearing lets go, it can punch a hole clean through the block, dump hot oil everywhere, and start a fire. The early signs are a ticking noise and overheating. Federal regulators forced a recall of roughly 440,000 vehicles, then expanded it by another 320,000 plus Rogues on top of that, and there's a separate recall, about 319,000 more, for a throttle body whose little plastic gears get strained by a startup self-check and can simply snap, cutting your power. A new engine runs well over $5,000, so Nissan stretched the warranty out to 10 years trying to get ahead of the bills. And if this all sounds familiar, it should, because Nissan spent years buried in transmission failures on this very same nameplate, quietly extending warranties back then too. Same story. New part, the honest version of this car, the old naturally aspirated one, mostly just ran. They engineered the failure right in, chasing a fuel number. So here's the part that actually matters. Go back and look at that whole list again. The transmission, the tiny turbo, the plug-in battery, the open deck block, the air suspension, the giant touchscreen, the Falcon door, the direct injection. Almost none of these SUVs failed because somebody was stupid. They failed because somebody was chasing a number, a fuel figure for the sticker, a credit for a hybrid, a margin for the quarter, a feature for the brochure. And here's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all of it. There is no money in the honest version. There's no money in a simple engine that runs to 300,000 miles and never needs the dealer. There's a great deal of money in a complicated one that needs a specialist, needs a laptop just to talk to, and needs a part that's on back order for 6 weeks. Follow the money and it lands in the same 3 places every single time: the dealer service bay, the parts maker, and the finance office that already booked your sale the day you drove off the lot. A sealed transmission that can only be flushed with a special machine, a battery that can only be coated by the brand, a suspension that throws the car into limp mode the moment an aftermarket part touches it. None of that is an accident either. And notice the quiet trick underneath, even that, the one that pays off for everybody but you. When you can't fix it yourself and you can't take it just anywhere, you're not really an owner anymore. You're a subscriber who happens to hold the title. And then there's the most brutal number of all, the depreciation. The average new car now loses almost half its value in 5 years. Electric ones, closer to 60%. These luxury SUVs past 63. That figure isn't random, and it isn't just fashion. That's the used car market pricing in exactly what I just spent 20 minutes describing to you. The repair risk, the complexity, the reputation, and then it hands you the bill for all of it. The second the sale clears, the maker already got paid. You're the one left holding the part that breaks and the value that evaporates. It isn't a conspiracy. It's just what happens when nobody in that meeting gets a bonus for building something simple that lasts. I think about this more than I probably should. There was a time you could pop the hood, understand most of what you were looking at, and fix a good chunk of it right there in your own driveway on a Saturday. And a machine you understand is a machine that can't be held over your head. What we've traded away one sealed box at a time isn't only reliability, it's the ability to do for ourselves. A car used to be a thing you owned outright, all the way down to the last bolt. More and more, it's a thing you're licensed to sit in until it decides it needs the dealer. I'm not against progress. Understand me clearly. A modern engine built honestly will outlast anything from the good old days. What I'm against is complexity sold to you as progress, when what it really is complexity sold to you as dependence. The best machines were never the flashiest ones. They were the ones that did the job, took a beating, and let you fix them when they didn't. That's not nostalgia. That's just good engineering. And it is getting rarer on purpose. So here's what I want you to actually do with all this. First, when you get the choice, simpler is safer. Take the naturally aspirated engine over the tiny turbo. Take the conventional automatic over the continuously variable one. Take the coil spring over the airbag. Take the proven gas model over the first-year plug-in. Second, before you buy anything on this list or anything sitting near it, run the VIN through the free Federal Recall website and read the real owner complaints, not the shiny brochure. Third, buy the second or third year of a design, never the first. Let some other poor soul find the factory's mistakes for you on their dime. Fourth, on the luxury ones, let somebody else eat the first 5 years of depreciation. Buy them used at half price with a warranty, or don't buy them at all. Fifth, before you hand anyone money for a used one, take it to your own mechanic for an hour, not theirs. If the seller won't let you, that hesitation is the whole answer, and you should walk. And last, Whatever you already own, learn its early warning sounds. The rattle on a cold start, the shutter pulling away from a stop, the coolant that keeps dropping with no puddle underneath. Catching one of those a week early is the whole difference between a gasket and an engine, between a $400 afternoon and a four-figure disaster. Picture yourself 2 years from now. You're standing in the service lane and you overhear them quoting the guy next to you, $9,000 for a transmission. And you just nod and you keep sipping your coffee because you bought the boring one. You knew the noise the day it started and you're driving home tonight. Now I want to hear from you because these comment sections are the best part of doing this. Tell me which SUV on this list you actually owned and what broke first. Give me the model, the mileage, and the repair bill. The real one, not the one you tell your spouse. Tell me what part of the country you're in too, because salt and heat change everything. And I especially want to hear from the mechanics watching this. What's the one that gets towed into your bay more than anything else? I read every single one of these, and honestly, the stuff you all share down there is half the reason these are worth making at all. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because I'm going after a lie that's printed right there in a lot of these owners' manuals. Lifetime fluid, filled for life. The transmission that supposedly never ever needs a service. I'm going to show you where that phrase actually came from, whose life it's really being measured against, and the one simple thing you can do in an afternoon that'll quietly outlast the transmission that phrase was designed to kill. Until then, do me a favor. Buy the boring one. Listen to your car when it's trying to tell you something, and don't ever pay dealer money for a problem that a meeting created. I'll see you on the next one.